joined by Shot Father, Todd Leary. How are you doing, sir?
Well, I feel like I need to up my energy. You're coming in strong and hot right there.
Hey, man, it's Friday. It's
I like
Friday.
it. I
Well,
like it.
I'll tell you, I'll be honest with you. I had computer issues in the studio, and the computer went kablooey. I can't remember if it was early in the week or at the end of last week, but had to get that fixed. But I realized at the time I'm going to have to get another computer. Boom.
That's fun.
So
That's
had
fun.
the repair bill, but I had to buy the new computer. Get the new computer home. I had 3 monitors set up that I used in the studio. Guess what? The new computer has the ability to host 1 monitor. And I'm like,
Might have wanted to check that out before you bought it.
very wise move, very wise thing. I'll grant you that. But who expects a freaking computer to have 1 port for a monitor? So then I had to find a monitor that would take up the room of 3 monitors so I could get it all in that space, and got that done, and was late last night trying to get everything back to normal. And so I've got plenty of room. I can see you you're larger
Nice.
than life right now.
Oh,
And that's the whole reason I got it, because you are larger than life, and I wanted to make
morning.
sure that
That's exactly
I
what they're
got to
looking
see
for.
that. Yep, lots of Todd in the morning, baby. How's your week
Yeah,
going?
big time. This is my rough work week, so I'm on the tail end of long days. So I'll be really happy when today's over. Let's just put it that way.
Well, it might be a rainy weekend for you to just to sit back and watch college football all weekend.
We got the big party tomorrow night for, of course, noon tomorrow. We'll be packing the rock. I won't be. I'll be out of town, but in spirit, I'll be packing the rock. But then tomorrow night, our household will be hopefully celebrating a victory, taking down the Crimson Tide.
Crimson Tide. Oh my, that's right. I forgot. That's a Georgia household there over
Yes, it
in
is.
the and Todd has adopted the Georgia Bulldogs as in a wise move
Had zero
on his
zero
part.
choice, but yes, I have forced
uh,
adoption. But yes,
I'm telling you, I think I'm going with Alabama in that
I
game.
am. I
Kalen,
know. I'm scared too. I know.
it's Kalen DeBoer number 1, and Georgia's outing against Kentucky. I was like, yeah, I don't know, man. Just Alabama kicked the crap out of Wisconsin up in Madison. I think Kalen's starting to find his groove and all those guys. So I'm like, yeah, I think this could be another bad year for the Bulldogs. Not bad year, but not winning a national championship's a bad year. So, but that's
Well,
what I'm talking about.
the good part about why I am so excited for the college football playoff is because a game like this, although you definitely want to win, it doesn't end your season if you lose. And in the
No,
past, from a national championship perspective in football, if especially in the SEC, you don't win that league or, uh, you know, make some incredible run at the end, like you're out of it, and that's not the case anymore. So yeah, that makes tomorrow's game a little bit more enjoyable because there's not as much writing on it.
well, especially playing in the big or the SEC as well. There's a little more latitude in especially at the top of the SEC, the Big Ten, because they're well. Last week, the SEC had 6 of the 7 top 7 teams in the AP poll, which
That's pretty
AP
crazy.
poll is, yeah, but yeah, a little more leeway, but it's going to be fun, man. I hope it doesn't rain during the Indiana game. I like to see games that are clean. I don't want weather playing a part in potential turnovers or stuff like that, because that just sucks. Because when outside forces change a game's outcome, that sucks.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like it's, uh, you just hope that we get to see, for both teams, go out there and put your best teams out there, do good stuff, play well, and and hopefully we think Indiana will come out on the good side of that. But that's the one factor with football. That's why I'm a soft inside basketball person, because we never really had rain delays and weather issues. So
Yeah.
don't love it.
No, that's one thing you did not have to worry about. That's true. Or have to play in it. That has to be nice as
Telling
well.
you, I'm soft. I would not have done well. I was cold on the bench during IU games, like, let alone. And you know, nowadays, like, you, especially in the NBA, you see those guys when they come out of the game, they've got on, you know, towels wrapped around their neck. They're all trying to keep themselves warm. Coach Knight was totally against that. Like, we were not even allowed to wear like extra shirt underneath our uniforms. So yeah, it was.
Why?
I know.
Why was that? Was it
I
about
don't
the
know.
look?
Just the old school part of it. I mean, that old school way of thinking, it has its positives, but it also has its negatives. and most of the time the players got the bad end of that deal, because I'm telling you, it was freezing on the bench. Like, it was always cold. If you used to always watch, everyone was always like warming up their hands. Like, it was always cold. And I spent a lot of time over there, so I'm very familiar with the temperature around that area.
Well, speaking of which, so where was the coldest place to play?
Minnesota, yeah.
I was going to say Minnesota lends itself to being that, but
well,
with the name
the
of
doors,
the place, the barn.
The doors to the barn were I mean, it's old school gym. So, like, the doors to, like, then, you walk through arena, and then you go into, like, the big common area, and then you walk, down into another area that's where the seating and all that is. Well, that's really not that way up in Minnesota. You walk through the doors, and it's like a high school gym. Within like 20 feet, you're all of a sudden at your seats. And when those doors keep opening and closing, and it's the middle of February in Minnesota, that breeze definitely comes through there. So yeah, that's without question the coldest place.
I can only, to try to put it in perspective for people. Have you ever been in a restaurant and you happen to get the bad seat in January that's right by the damn door that everybody keeps opening up, and every time they open it up, you get this Arctic blast?
Bangs on your...
I swear to God, that is the worst thing. I'm like, God dang it, lock the door. But
pick your restaurants better, buddy.
Yeah, well, pick your seats better and get there in time.
There you go.
But that's what that reminds me of. Let's see. We'll just keep on with football until we get to the next segment, talk some hoops. But Rutgers and Washington this week, Michigan, Minnesota, Indiana hosting Maryland. Todd, the Hoosiers are looking to go 5-0 for the first time in 57 years. That's a crazy stat, but
that is staggering.
57
even with the good
years.
Teams, it's staggering that it's been that long since they were 5-0. Like,
I will give them this. They got screwed by the Big Ten for 5 out of 7 years. They started their season with a Big Ten opponent, and no other team in the conference had anything like that. So that didn't help. That doesn't help matters. But
okay, call it a 52-year streak then.
No, whatever. Yeah, no, I'm saying, but that doesn't leave it. That should have happened. Kurt Cignetti, the first coach to start his tenure 4-0 ever at Indiana. So they've got that going. Oh, there was a great stat Fox Sports put out last night on Twitter. There are 5 teams that have top 10 scoring offenses and scoring defenses. 4 of those teams are ranked in the top 10. Alabama, maybe Miami. I'm trying to go off of memory now, but Georgia, Utah maybe, but those top 10 teams. The 5th one, of course, was Indiana, unranked. It's just so funny that every metric that they have, but that they're still not getting the love. They'll be ranked in the top 25 this week if they beat Michigan or Maryland, without question. They're only 2 spots out of that, but it shows you how hard it is to overcome the perceptions of people. You're they've won 4 games, they've done all this and done that, but still, there's a lot of people that are still keeping them at arm's length.
Yeah, and you know what? Hey, I don't blame them. I understand that. I'm not sold yet. Like we're 4-0, and here's the thing. Here's what I love. I think about Coach Signetti without knowing him personally is I don't think me saying I'm still a little skeptical that we are as good as what those stats say that we are, because there's nothing on paper right now to prove it. Now, yes, they've won all the games they played and they've put themselves in that position, but we will all agree their opponents have not been that great. I think UCLA playing LSU really well after Indiana beat them out in California, I think that helps your argument and your theory of them. They should be higher thought of, but I'm fine with being where they're at. I'm fine with people being a little skeptical of them until they go out. Now that you go beat 1 or 2 Big Ten opponents in a row, yeah. And I get it, UCLA is now, but I'm just saying, like now we're in the meat of the schedule, and if they do it now, you win a couple more games, you start out 6-0, they'll be thought of higher. They'll be ranked.
Oh, absolutely. Like I said, I think that they'll be ranked if they win this weekend. They were only 5 points off of that, but you're right. All 4 games they were supposed to win.
Right.
And they did. They've just done it. They've just done it way more handily, way more dominantly than what. And people are. I've seen a couple clips of people around the country, different, CBS or this, that, and they're talking about, hey, how about Indiana? Kurt Signetti come in saying, Google me. Yeah, we were all laughing, but look at them now. He goes, they're doing it. So they're starting to catch some attention around the country. But the danger in being an Indiana is you can go 4, 5, maybe 6 games, but boy, you lose that one and it knocks you way back from what you gain differently than it does a lot of other teams.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. But you know what? Like, Jim, I'm not crying wolf here. Like, Indiana has earned that reputation and that position that they put themselves in. And it's pretty easy to earn your way out of it. It's just called winning. And they'll be looked at pretty highly. I mean, think about a few years ago. I mean, what do you think of right now when I bring up Kansas football, Kansas State, some teams like that really, in the long run, have not been viewed as, nationally prominent teams, and now they are. I mean, Kansas, I think people get kind of surprised when Kansas isn't decent at football now, and that definitely wasn't the case 15 years ago. So Indiana can win their way out of that reputation. It just comes down to it's not a fast process where you go 4-0 against teams you were supposed to beat, and all of a sudden everybody now just jumps on the bandwagon and says, "Yeah, you're legit." And so proving that you're legit is part of the process, and I think that's part of the process Coach Signetti loves and enjoys. The scariest part for me as an Indiana football fan is when I do see those national pundits now giving attention to Indiana, because let's just throw a crazy scenario out there and say Indiana wins 9 or 10 games crazily. You know how much money it's going to cost to hang on to Kurt Signetti as a coach? And do you know how hard, not just the money aspect of it would be one thing. If you had a chance to leave Indiana and go to an SEC school, most coaches would consider that possibility. So I'm a little nervous if they are too successful in year one that he could potentially be a one and done.
I understand that line of thinking because it makes sense, because that's how things are. I don't, but his record, his history for him does say otherwise. A guy that's this good and this smart, there's no way he could not have been at someplace other than JMU before last season. And I don't know that he's I was talking to someone last night, and they was saying that, he was not looking for a job when he got this Indiana job. And he said that. He goes, I'm not necessarily looking for a job. And I brought up, I said, Florida's probably going to be calling. Florida, I mean, they may not be the only one, but Florida is definitely going to be testing the waters.
Florida State might be testing the waters.
Exactly, Mike Novell, because those are tradition-rich programs, and they need it. They have everything going except for the winning part, and they may have access to Google, so they will be coming. But
and they may have access to a whole lot of money.
Yeah, I think Indiana fans will be okay. I think he's going to enjoy. I also think, though, on the other side of it, Kurt Cignetti will love coming to a program. Going to a Florida and Florida State and revamping it is not like going to Indiana and turning them into something, because they've never really been it. They've had some runs, but they have never been a football power by any stretch of the imagination. And if you could do that, man, I think he's going to enjoy that and sit back and say, look what I created, as opposed to going to Florida and being, resurrecting. There's a difference between resurrecting and creating. But I agree with everything you said. It makes sense. But I think he ends up staying just because they seem to enjoy it here. I can tell you this, the Bloomington community loves them, has welcomed them in. And once they can get a fan base that is more football oriented, I think it'll be more fun. The crowds are going to pick up, no doubt. As a matter of fact, expectations on a large crowd this weekend saved the weather having an impact on that, which would really suck, especially if there are a lot of people that are planning to go out. But let's hope that doesn't turn out to be the case. But we've got to take a break. We've got the shot doctor with us, Todd Leary. A lot of recruiting action this week and still to come here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by our good friends from the Hard Truth Distilling Company and Free Think Apparel. Back with more from the Shot Father right after this.
This segment is brought to you by Hoosier Hanks East.
If you're looking for a home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in you getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty at cheryl@indyhomepros.com or 317-298-0961. Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Let Cheryl Sizemore get you in the home you want today. Cheryl@indyhomepros.com. Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer.
Country living is just a swing away. It can be hard to find the exact home that fits your family's needs, so there couldn't be a better time to build a new home with Property Shore Construction. Now building exclusively south of Bloomington within the Stonecrest Golf Community. Choose from one of the gorgeous Stonecrest Signature Series house plans. We have several lots available with scenic views of the golf course. Contact Amy Rhoda with Revesco Real Estate for additional information. 812-583-0919 or go to mystonecrestliving.com. That's mystonecrestliving.com for more details.
Know a team or group needing a fundraiser? Boost Fundraising raises more money faster and offers the most unique and user-friendly online fundraiser in the nation. Your team receives personalized fundraising pages for each team member. Free team-branded promo gifts shipped to each donor. Boost Fundraising does it all. Sports teams, marching bands, charity causes, and community groups. Go to boostfundraising.com and be sure to enter the promo code COYLE, that's COYLE, to receive a discounted fundraiser.
Looking for someone to cater your next corporate event, family reunion, or tailgate? To some, a garnish may be nothing more than just a decoration put last on a plate. But in Bloomington, catering starts with Garnish Catering. Serving all of Bloomington and surrounding areas, Garnish Catering is waiting to help make your next event one to remember. Planning a great event shouldn't have to be stressful. Whether we quote you just for catering or a total event package, you can trust that you're making the right choice with Garnish Catering. Visit garnishcatering.com. That's garnishcatering.com. Garnish Catering is a proud partner of WOW Food Group.
In the market for a new or used vehicle? Well, nobody beats the prices and selection of Andy Moore Honda in Bloomington. Right now, get a brand new Honda with no payments for 90 days. That's right, 2023 and 2024 Honda Pilots, HRVs, CRVs, Honda Ridgelines, payment-free for 90 days. Or get 0.9% APR financing for 36 months on a 2023 Honda Ridgeline. Go to AndyMooreHonda.com and get more to your door.
Well, alrighty, no welcome back, but welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Friday. I hope you've had a great week and staying dry on this Friday as we're heading into the weekend. Man, how's the hurricane out there?
Well, we got the remnants of it here in Indiana. It is definitely pouring down rain, and I'm driving in it all day.
You probably had driving right through it. You're
probably driving right in the middle, right in the middle of it.
Yeah, that no fun, and yeah, no, it's dropping a lot of precipitation all around. Big weekend of week of recruiting in the state. Indiana landed Trent Sisley, which I'll be honest with you, going into it, as much as I've spent around them, I had no. It was like a 50-50 for me. I'm like, I don't know if it's Indiana or Purdue. I really didn't. And I didn't venture a guess, but that turned out in Indiana's favor. Then you had Jalen Harrelson, who was probably long trending for Indiana, but toward the end, Micah Shrewsbury seemed to really come in and come on hard and does a phenomenal job. He's a great coach, a great recruiter, a great guy. I was talking about this yesterday, Todd. It almost sucks for Indiana, state of Indiana fans, college basketball, because for IU fans, because at Purdue you've got Matt Painter. He's a great guy. It's hard to not like Matt Painter.
Right.
If you don't know him, it's probably not hard because he coaches at Purdue for fans. But if you've been around him, he's just a good guy. Micah Shrewsbury, maybe even better. Nicer guy. Another Hoosier, homegrown guy. And then, of course, you've got Mike Woodson coaching at Indiana, also from Indiana. I don't think there's any other state that has 3 flagship schools like that where your head coaches are from in-state. That's unique, but very Indiana.
Yeah, I mean, so to Sicily, on your first point, yeah. I mean, I think based on proximity of where he grew up, Indiana makes the most sense, and I think is a great fit for him and his family. One of the things I think a lot of fans overlook is when these decisions are made, a lot of times, you know, there are, or all the time, there should be a ton of factors involved in it. But one of those factors is your family and them being able to come see you play. And that was a huge decision, I think, or part of the decision for the Sicily family. And you know, they come in rolling heavy and strong. Like they bring a lot of people with them when they go watch games. So yeah, that's a great situation for Indiana. I think it makes the most sense. I'm happy for Trent and his family. I know his dad, Matt, is beyond ecstatic for this opportunity to be able to come to Bloomington and watch games for the next 3 or 4 years. And then, you know, when you go to the Jalen Harrelson situation, like, you know, I call it it's my Martian theory. And I love to quote the movie Moneyball. I also love to quote the movie The Martian. And in that, the way they sold Matt Damon on doing something when he was I don't even remember what planet he was on. What was it? I don't even remember what he was on, but was to be the fastest human to ever go on that planet. And so they called him a space pirate. And I think that's a theory for what they did with Jalen Harrelson. They told him he was going to be the first. He was going to be the highest recruit they ever had. He was going to be the first guy they ever had that was a 5-star. All the things going along with it. And
the guy. He's going to be the guy.
They sold it. And I don't like that's great
recruiting.
That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. And I don't think the fit is terrible. You can't talk to anyone in the coaching world about Micah Shrewsbury and have them say anything negative because he seems to be loved by everybody. So, yeah, I mean, the situation just worked out. So he's going to be, the first basketball pirate up in South Bend.
Who, Matt Damon was on Mars on that movie, by the way.
Mars, yeah, my bad. I'm sorry.
I'm
driving in the pouring rain.
I was just laughing because he popped up. Skylar popped that up, and I just thought it was funny.
I didn't want to say Mars and then have people be like, "It wasn't Mars, you moron!" Like
I wasn't. I wasn't even getting on you. I'm just laughing because it popped it up there so quick. I'm like, "Oh my god, that's hilarious!" Thank you. I found that to be hilarious.
But they sold Matt Damon on the fact that he was going to be the fastest person to ever go on Mars. And I mean, I use that in different analogies of things all the time. Like, I get it. Like, you want to be the first, the best, the fastest, the biggest, the whatever. And he's the highest recruit they've ever had. And so I get it.
Well, it's the highest recruit a lot of people would have had. He's is he? I think it's still a top 10 guy, or is he right outside of that? But anyway,
I think he was like 23 or 4, isn't he?
I think he's outside of the top 10, but inside of the top 20. It depends on what you're looking at.
Yeah, right.
There's a composite and all of that stuff, but a great recruit. And Notre Dame is going to become a player in this state sooner rather than later. You've got Micah Shrewsbury that's going to start recruiting this state, or has already started recruiting the state successfully. He's also has your favorite Mark Zachary that's going to be on his roster from this summer's Indiana Elite team, but he's going to be playing quarterback for the Fighting Irish on Saturdays first. Oh man, what else was I going to say? Then, then you've got Dusty May up at Michigan, who is going to be coming into Indiana, and I guarantee you he'll have success. Tom Izzo already has success at Michigan State.
McCaffrey's at Iowa.
Yep, and then even the Dukes, the North Carolina is a finalist for Braylon Mullins right now. So Indiana is always going to be under attack, but it gets worse when you've got 3 places inside of the state, and that doesn't include if Butler's able to get back.
I was just getting ready to say you're way overlooking Thad Matta and his ability to recruit, because, and I'm not saying you're overlooking it. I get what you're saying when you talk about the big 3. For whatever reason, even though with all the success that Butler has had,
Butler's had more success than all the other 3 combined.
Than all of them, I know.
In the last 25
but for whatever reason, like they just kind of get overlooked a little bit because they're a smaller. I'm assuming because they're a smaller school.
Yes.
And
smaller conference.
They've been overshadowed by UConn recently and all that. So yeah, but Butler's in that conversation also. Thad Matta is not just a great guy; he's a great recruiter, and he used to recruit the state of Indiana when he took Odin Conley out of here to Ohio State. Like he is very comfortable in recruiting around here.
Absolutely, and successful in doing that. But but there's also a lot to go around, especially today. High school recruiting, I talked about this yesterday. It's just not that important to me anymore to a degree. There are certain guys that you want and kind of need to get from an optic standpoint.
Totally.
There are certain guys. Now, Trent Sisley's kind of different because he covers a lot of the boxes. He covers the optics, first of all. He's a Southern Indiana kid. Indiana needs to keep that area of the state locked down.
but he is a multi-dimensional player. He's a probable 4-year player that is going to potentially impact a little bit in his first year, but that is going to increase each and every year. He's going to be a productive member of the team. That getting a player like that from in-state is huge. So you've got to have a couple of those guys. But with the portal being there, I will take an experienced, proven guy every day over a freshman recruit that is coming into college. So I'm never going to end up in a position, or I wouldn't, like Matt Painter did last year he had 6 incoming freshmen until he lost one of them, but half of his roster this season, more than half, will be underclassmen. That's it. When you bring in 6 new guys, that's the problem you're going to have. And in this era of teams being able to add guys that have great experience, I don't think that's a position you want to be in.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a different way of building your program, and I don't necessarily agree with what you're saying. Like, I don't think it's
good.
It puts you at a disadvantage. Yeah, I mean, we don't always have to agree, but I mean, I think that they've built their program differently, obviously. And here's the argument you can make for that scenario is I think we will all agree, and the difference may end up being worse rather than better. But I think we would all agree that the NIL situation and the way that the portal has worked out and all that, I don't think that's going to stay the way it is. I think it's going to change. Now, it's not going to change like next season, but it's over the next 3 or 4 or 5 years, I think we'll see that gradually change to where it's not quite as easy to transfer as it is right now. And I think COVID years played a factor in all that. I think some lawsuits and different things played a factor in that. But I think it'll settle to the point where it's a little more stable than it is now. And when that's the case, then I think a culture like what Purdue has now has a gigantic advantage. But when it's just a Wild West free-for-all and you can basically go wherever you want, whenever you want, it's probably going to set them to a little bit of a disadvantage over some schools that do have the ability to just go pluck a new roster every year out of the portal. And so I can see what you're saying, and I don't disagree with that side of it. I don't agree with, I think it's going to have long-term effects because, one, Matt Painter has proven his culture is good and they're going to develop teams. I'm excited to see them play, to be honest with you, without Zach Edey. The one factor that I do think gets overlooked, and I've coached at a much lower level, but I think coaches would agree with this, is yes, Edey, everyone would want Edey on your team. Every GM, every coach, every athletic director, everyone would want Edey on your team. But that doesn't make it easy to coach. And they were a little bit hamstrung in things that they could do and things they could run because of Zach Edey. Now, they were able to do a lot of things because of Zach Edey in a positive way, but they were also a little limited in some of the things they could do with Zach Edey, especially prior to his senior year. He became much more mobile his senior year. And that's what I'll be interested to see what Purdue looks like this year. Will they be a more fast-paced team? Like, what will they be like? And I'm not saying they'll be better. I'm just saying they'll be different, but I'm not sure it's going to be a lot worse.
Absolutely. Getting back to Hoosier basketball a little bit, someone asked about what IU guards are one and done. And then Russell pointed out that ESPN currently has Kanan Carlisle. It's not Kanan. It's Kanan or something. I think it's Kanan. I've heard someone. I've been saying Kanan, but Kanan Carlisle is ranked ahead of Mackenzie Mbako, and Russell comments that he doesn't know what their thinking is there. Well, I can tell you exactly. What is Mackenzie Mbako's liability? Defense. That is the difference. And that's why. But that's two different positions.
I was just getting ready to say, like, Mackenzie Mbako's, I'll call it weakness as defense, NBA doesn't care. The NBA doesn't care about his defense at all. If he can put the ball in the basket at the level that we think Mackenzie Mbako will be able to, they don't care about his defense.
Yeah, but he has to show that he can do that consistently. He did at the beginning and the end of the season.
I agree with you. I totally agree with you. I think Mackenzie Mbako is the X factor in exactly how good Indiana is. And I think they're going to be good regardless. But when you get Mackenzie Mbako, if he's able to make that leap and that jump, I'm telling Indiana's a top 3, 4, 5 team in the country, not in the Big Ten. And I firmly believe that. Now, I'm putting a lot of weight on a kid who had an okay freshman year, but really I think showed a lot of positives and good signs towards the end of his freshman year. And we will all, I think, agree, kids' sophomore years a lot of times are the toughest. So I'm putting a lot of weight on a kid that's going to have a lot of pressure on him and a lot of factors against him. But I think Malik Renew, I think, we could write down on paper right now what stat line we're going to get out of him for the end of the year, for, averaging over the year. He's going to have huge games and all that. And I think we'd be pretty close to nailing down what we're going to get out of him. I think Mackenzie Mbako has a much wider range and margin of what we would all put down for what we think we could expect out of him. And if he's on the top end of that in scoring, Indiana's got a chance at being super good.
Absolutely. Well, brother, I hope you have safe travels today.
I appreciate that.
Appreciate you as always. Hope you enjoy tomorrow. Georgia, a favorite in Tuscaloosa. I don't know how the hell that's happening. I'm going to have to maybe pull up a bet and take Alabama.
Don't you do it.
I can't see Kalen DeBoer getting beat at home, man.
Go Dogs.
Did you know this breaks a streak of over 100 and something, like 110 games that Alabama has been favored at home?
I mean, I'm a Georgia fan. I've watched every minute of every game of both teams. I don't understand how Georgia's favored, to be honest with you. If it was at Georgia, I would understand it. I do not understand how they're favored, but go Dogs. They know something.
I did a quick rundown. If just averaging 7 home games a year, that goes back well over 15 and a half years.
You could probably line that up with the Nick Saban era. Pretty closely.
The Shot Father, Todd Leary from MyJumpShot.com. Make sure you check that out. If you are a kid, know a kid, have a kid that can use some assistance on improving their game, that's how you do it. Todd Leary, thank you, brother. Appreciate you.
You're the best. Love you. Thanks.
You betcha. Back with more on Indiana.